So, clairaudience is one of the psychic abilities that you may start to experience during your awakening process. And I've heard other people talk about this. So, this seems to be more common as far as what happens when when your clairaudience starts to open up for you. So, what ends up happening is it sounds like you are in between like radio stations. It's kind of like you start to hear something, but it's not quite clear. It's like you're, kind of hearing something, but you're not quite sure exactly what it is. And another way you might hear it be described is it almost kind of sounds like people are talking either in another room or the TV is on in another room and it's very low, but you can hear it. And a lot of times this starts to happen right as you're going to sleep. And even though that was the first thing that started to happen to me, is what I experienced that. But I still, to this day, sometimes as I'm going to sleep, I feel like I'm hearing, kind of people talk very muffled. I'm kind of like, what? Where is that? Did I leave the TV on? So I still experience it, but I do think it's one of those things that really is one of the first things that starts to happen when your clairaudience starts to open up. Now, over the years, I've heard all sorts of different things from, bells to music to somebody singing to somebody talking. I've heard all sorts of different things. And I think, honestly, even though you would think that clairvoyance, where you can see stuff like ghosts or whatever, even though you think that would be more terrifying, sometimes I feel like it's more terrifying hearing a disembodied voice, because you're sitting here like you're like, I heard something, I know I just heard something, and it's like they have to be there. So honestly, I feel like clairaudience can also be quite startling, but it's nothing to be afraid of. Just like all the other psychic experiences that you may have. I know over the years I went through different times where I was very scared. And I will share another story I have where I was actually scared the last time this happened. But again, that's what I'm saying. I think it's very interesting when you're starting to open up these abilities, because they don't necessarily happen all the time, and then the next thing you know, you have one and it kind of startles you because you haven't had one in a long time. But anyway, so that's how clairaudience really starts to open up for people. So if you start to hear that, don't be alarmed. This is just your clairs starting to open up. All right, stay tuned for more information on psychic abilities and experiences. And also, I do have a psychic guide that's available to help you navigate this if you are experiencing this during your awakening. Thanks.